The night was darker than usual. The wind howled across the dry fields, shaking the old farmhouse at the edge of the colony. Ethan Walker stood by the window, staring at the sky. Heavy clouds rolled like angry waves, flashing with blue lightning. This part of the frontier world rarely had storms, but tonight it felt different. The air smelled like metal and fear. Ethan was used to being alone. He was a simple farmer, growing grain on the far edge of the human zone. The nearest town was 30 miles away. He liked it that way. People meant noise, rules, and trouble. Out here, it was just him and the stars. But that night, the stars were gone, covered by a storm that looked alive. Then he saw it. A streak of light cut through the clouds, moving fast, almost silent. It wasn't lightning. It was smoother, brighter, and falling straight toward his field. Seconds later, a blast of wind hit the house, shaking the windows. A deep rumble followed, echoing through the ground. Ethan grabbed his flashlight and ran outside. Rain hit his face, cold and sharp. The fields were wet and glowing faintly. Something had burned through the crops. Smoke rose from a crater near the old barn. As Ethan stepped closer, he saw a small metal pod, half buried in mud. It hissed softly, lights flickering along its side. It wasn't human technology. Ethan's heart pounded. He had heard stories of alien refugees, creatures from the outer systems running from war, but no one had ever seen one here. The colony rules were clear: report any alien contact immediately. But something deep inside told him not to. The pod's door opened with a slow hiss. Inside, he saw movement. 3 figures, weak and shaking. 2 looked young, their skin pale blue with soft patterns like starlight. The third was older, lying still, breathing hard. The younger one, slender with glowing eyes, raised her hand, scared but trying to speak. "Please, help," she whispered. Her voice trembled, strange yet beautiful. Ethan froze. His brain screamed run, but his heart said stay. The storm roared louder, thunder breaking the sky in half. The younger girl, maybe in her 20s, was holding the old woman close. The other sister, shorter and quieter, held a small metal box that blinked weakly. They looked terrified. Ethan stepped closer. "You're hurt?" he asked slowly. The tall one nodded. "Our grandmother. She is sick. We crashed." Her English was broken but clear enough to understand. Ethan looked at the pod again. It was cracked open, smoke pouring from inside. The grandmother's skin was turning gray, her breath shallow. Whatever they were dying. He knew helping them meant trouble. If the patrols found aliens on his land, they would arrest him. But as he looked at their faces, cold, scared, desperate, he couldn't walk away. "Come," he said finally. "Follow me." The sisters looked at each other, then helped the old woman up. They moved slowly, trembling in the wind. Ethan led them toward the barn, half running through the mud. Inside, it was dry and dark. He laid a blanket on some hay and helped the grandmother lie down. The older sister, Lyra, thanked him quietly. Her sister, Nora, checked a small device near the old woman's neck. The screen blinked red. "She needs warmth," Nora said softly. "And quiet, please." Ethan lit a lantern. The warm light filled the barn, casting long shadows. He brought water, a blanket, and some of his old medicine. They didn't take the pills, just crushed them and mixed them with silver powder from their box. He didn't understand, but he watched. Outside, the storm kept raging. The wind made the walls shake. Ethan stood near the door, staring at the sky. He could feel something up there, like eyes watching. Lyra came beside him. "We thank you," she said softly. "You didn't have to help." Ethan gave a small smile. "I couldn't leave you in the rain." She looked at him with strange eyes, silver, glowing faintly. "If they find us," she whispered, "they will find you too." He frowned. "Who?" "The hunters," she said. "They follow light." Lightning flashed outside, and for a moment Ethan saw a shadow in the clouds, huge, dark, and silent. A ship. Not from Earth. It hovered for a second, then disappeared into the storm. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. The storm wasn't natural. It was hiding something. He turned to Lyra. "You're saying they're after you?" She nodded, fear in her eyes. "They want her," she pointed to her grandmother. "They will kill anyone who helps." Ethan looked back at the barn where the old woman lay sleeping. Her breathing was slow, almost peaceful. He felt something shift inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. A reason to care again. "Then they won't find you here," he said finally. Lyra looked at him like she didn't believe it. Why help us? Humans hate our kind, Ethan sighed. Maybe some do. I don't. For a moment, they stood in silence. The wind began to calm. The storm slowly drifted away, but the air still felt heavy, charged with something unseen. As dawn began to rise, the rain stopped. The sky turned pale silver. Ethan stepped outside to check the damage and froze. In the distance, beyond the hills, 3 dark shapes moved across the clouds, silent, slow, searching. He whispered to himself. They're coming, and from the barn behind him, Lyra's voice trembled. They found us. Morning light crept through the cracks in the old barn. The air smelled of hay, oil, and smoke. Ethan sat near the door, his shotgun resting on his knees. He hadn't slept all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the dark shapes moving in the sky. Inside, the alien sisters were awake. The older one, Lyra, was sitting beside her grandmother, who still looked pale and cold. The younger sister, Nora, was quietly working with strange tools, tiny glowing rods and a small metal box covered in symbols. Every few minutes it blinked weakly, like a heartbeat fading away. Ethan watched them, trying to understand. They didn't act like monsters. They acted like family. He saw fear, pain, and hope in their faces, the same feelings any human might have. Lyra looked up and spoke softly. Thank you, Ethan, you saved us last night. He shook his head. I only gave you a roof. The hard part's still ahead. Lyra glanced at her grandmother. She is dying. Her heart core. It's breaking. Ethan frowned. Heart core? Nora answered without looking up. It's part of our people. We don't have hearts like humans. We have energy cores that connect to the life around us. But hers is fading. We need to repair it soon. Ethan stood. Can I help? Lyra's silver eyes met his. You already have. But if you help more, you will be in danger too. Ethan smiled sadly. Too late for that. Outside, the wind carried the smell of burning metal. The storm had passed, but the fields were full of wreckage, bits of alien metal scattered like glass. Ethan worked fast, hiding the crash marks with soil and covering the pod under old tarps. He prayed no one from the patrol would fly over today. When he returned to the barn, Nora was studying his old radio set. She ran her hand over the knobs, her eyes wide with curiosity. You can talk across miles with this? She asked. Yeah, Ethan said. Well, on a good day. The signal's weak out here. She nodded. Then maybe we can use it to boost our beacon. Lyra looked up sharply. Nora hesitated. We need help, sister. Our people must know we're alive. Ethan walked closer. A beacon? Like a signal? Lyra's voice dropped. Yes, it sends a pulse across space. But if the wrong ones hear it first. She looked toward the door. The hunters will find us. Ethan felt a chill. Who are they? The ones who rule our worlds now, Nora said. They destroyed cities, took power from our people. They hunt us because of her. She pointed at their grandmother. Ethan glanced at the old woman. She was whispering softly in a language he didn't understand. Her skin glowed faintly under the lantern light. Why her? He asked. Lyra hesitated. Her core is not ordinary. It is the heart of Lyra, a source of life energy that can power worlds. They want it. They will stop at nothing to get it. Ethan felt the weight of her words. So they'll come for her, and for anyone helping her. Lyra nodded. Yes, he rubbed his face, thinking. Then we'd better make sure they don't find her. All day, Ethan worked beside them. He brought tools, wires, and old machine parts from his workshop. Nora's hands moved fast, fixing the beacon, connecting circuits with strange, glowing threads. It looked like a mix of human and alien tech. At sunset, they tested it. The beacon gave a soft hum and flashed once, but then the light died. Power drop, Nora whispered. It needs a stronger source. Ethan frowned. How strong? Stronger than anything you have, she said sadly. Lyra placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll try again tomorrow. Tonight we rest, but rest didn't come easily. That night, the sound of engines echoed faintly across the valley. Ethan froze, listening. It wasn't thunder, it was too steady, too sharp. He rushed outside. In the distance, a beam of white light scanned the hills, moving slowly toward his farm. Patrol ship, he whispered. He ran back inside. You all need to stay quiet. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Lyra looked terrified. If they scan the barn, I'll handle it, Ethan said. Moments later, a bright beam of light washed over the farmhouse. A voice echoed from a loudspeaker. Colony Patrol. We detected strange energy readings in this area. Please step outside. Ethan took a deep breath and walked out into the open, rain dripping from the roof. A small patrol hovercraft floated above, 2 soldiers inside. Evening, Ethan called, trying to sound calm. Evening, sir, the soldier replied. We're checking for debris from last night's storm. Any damage here? Ethan forced a smile. Just broken fences and scared cattle. You know how it is. The soldier scanned the area. His device beeped once, then stopped. Strange. We picked up something, but it's gone now. Probably my old tractor, Ethan said quickly. It leaks energy sometimes. The man shrugged. All right. Be careful out here. Strange things fall from the sky these days. The hovercraft rose and drifted away. Ethan stood in the rain until it disappeared beyond the hills. Only then did he exhale. He went back to the barn. Lyra was waiting at the door, her eyes full of fear. They were close, Ethan nodded. Too close. Nora looked at the beacon. We can't stay hidden forever. Ethan looked out at the night sky, dark and endless. Then tomorrow, he said, we find a way to fight back. Behind him, the grandmother whispered again in her strange tongue. For a moment, her eyes opened, glowing softly with light. She looked at Ethan and smiled weakly. The human heart, she said in a trembling voice, burns brighter than any star. Then she fell silent. Outside, far above the clouds, a red light blinked in the darkness. A ship was watching. The next morning, the air was still. The wind had stopped. The sky was gray and the fields were quiet. Too quiet. Ethan stood on his porch, staring toward the hills where the patrol lights had vanished the night before. Something didn't feel right. He had lived alone for years and trusted his instincts. When the air went silent like this, it meant something was coming. Something bad. Inside the barn, the sisters were awake again. Nora worked on the broken beacon, while Lyra fed her weak grandmother drops of glowing liquid. The old woman's eyes stayed closed, her breathing shallow, her skin faintly shining like moonlight on water. How is she? Ethan asked quietly. Lyra shook her head. Worse, her energy fades with each hour. If we don't find the crystal core she lost during the crash. She stopped, her voice trembling. Crystal core? Ethan asked. Yes, Nora said. It fell somewhere in the field when the pod broke. It's what connects her life to the beacon. Ethan thought for a moment. The field was large, but he'd noticed a strange glow near the far edge last night. I might have seen something, he said. Stay here. I'll check. He grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. The wind had started again, slow and cold. The ground crunched under his boots as he walked across the scorched soil. After a few minutes, he reached the place where the crash had burned the crops. There it was, a small, glowing shard half buried in the dirt. It pulsed with faint blue light, almost like it was breathing. Ethan bent down to pick it up, but the moment his fingers touched it, the light flared. For a second, he saw flashes in his mind, stars, ships, explosions, and screaming voices. He dropped it, gasping. What the hell? He whispered. Then he heard it. A distant hum. A sound like thunder, but steadier. Engines. He looked up and saw 3 dark dots in the sky, moving in formation. They weren't colony patrols. The ships were sleeker, sharper, alien. The hunters, Ethan muttered. He ran back to the barn as fast as he could. They're here. He shouted. Lyra's eyes widened. How far? Close, maybe 10 minutes. Nora's hands shook. They found the energy trail from the shard. They're tracking us. Ethan handed her the crystal. Can this help your grandmother? Yes, Lyra said, her voice shaking. But we don't have time. Then make time, Ethan said firmly. I'll slow them down. He rushed to the farmhouse, checking his old rifle and setting up his defense alarms. Tripwires, motion sensors, and old mechanical traps he used to scare off thieves. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. Through his dusty binoculars, he saw the alien ships land on the far edge of the valley. 3 black figures stepped out, tall and armored, their helmets glowing red. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with power. They began scanning the ground. One of them raised a device and a beam of red light swept across the field, moving toward the farm. Ethan ducked. His heart pounded. Inside the barn, Lyra and Nora worked fast. They placed the glowing crystal near their grandmother's chest. The shard floated slightly, melting into her skin like liquid light. The old woman gasped, her body trembling. Her eyes opened, bright silver, almost blinding. Her voice came out like wind. They are here, she said. Run! We can't! Lyra cried. We can't leave you. The grandmother smiled weakly. The boy has courage. Stay with him. Trust him. Then her glow dimmed again and she fell silent. Outside, a blast hit the ground near the barn. The shockwave threw dust and hay into the air. Ethan fired his rifle toward the shapes in the smoke. The bullet sparked harmlessly off their armor. The hunters began walking forward, slow, confident, unstoppable. Inside. Now, Ethan yelled. He ran back into the barn and barred the door. They're armed with something I've never seen. Nora's hands shook as she grabbed the beacon. If I can boost the signal, maybe our allies will hear us before they break in. Ethan nodded. Do it fast. She connected wires from the beacon to the old radio. Sparks flew. The radio screamed with static lights flickering wildly. It's working, she whispered. But it's drawing too much power. The ground shook again. One wall of the barn cracked. Lyra screamed as a beam of red energy sliced through the door. Ethan rolled behind a barrel, firing again. Get down, he shouted. The door exploded inward and one of the hunters stepped through the smoke. Its armor shimmered like dark glass. It looked at Ethan, scanning him with red light. Human, it said in a cold mechanical voice. Step aside. They are not yours to protect. Ethan's voice was calm but fierce. They're under my roof. That makes them my problem. The hunter raised its weapon. Then you die with them. Before it could fire, a blinding light filled the barn. The beacon pulsed once, twice, then released a wave of energy. The hunter stumbled, its armor flickering. Nora fell to the floor, screaming as sparks flew from the device. Ethan grabbed her and pulled her back. Shut it down. I can't, she cried. It's not me, it's her. They looked at the grandmother. Her eyes were open again, glowing brighter than ever. The air around her shimmered. The hunter turned toward her, but before it could take another step, a wave of invisible force blasted outward, throwing it across the field. The light vanished as quickly as it came. Silence filled the air. Ethan stood slowly, staring at the door. The hunter was gone. Only its weapon lay smoking on the ground. Lyra knelt beside her grandmother. She used her energy to save us. Ethan looked out the shattered doorway. The other two hunters were retreating toward their ships, but he knew this wasn't over. They'll be back, he said quietly. Next time they won't come alone. Lyra looked at him, fear in her eyes. Then we must be ready. Ethan nodded. We will be. Far above in the clouds, one of the alien ships turned and disappeared into the sky, sending a message across the stars. The hunters had found what they were looking for. The first rays of dawn crept over the valley, painting the clouds golden red. The light should have brought peace, but for Ethan Walker it only meant one thing. The hunters would return. He stood in front of his farmhouse, staring at the black smoke still rising from the wrecked barn. The smell of burnt wood and alien metal filled the air. He had patched what he could during the night, but he knew it wouldn't hold for long. Inside the barn, Lyra and Nora sat beside their grandmother. Her glow had faded to a faint shimmer, her breathing uneven. The air around her felt heavy, almost alive. Lyra looked at Ethan as he entered. You should leave, she said softly. They will come again. More of them. You don't have to die with us. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. I made my choice the moment I opened that pod. I won't stop now. Nora shook her head. You don't understand. The hunters follow orders from the Black Command. If they fail, the command will send destroyers. Whole ships. You can't fight that. Ethan looked at the two sisters, young, scared, and yet so strong. He saw courage in their eyes, the same kind that once lived in his. Then we give them something they're not expecting, he said. A fight. He spent the next hour preparing. He gathered old fuel barrels, wired explosives from his mining tools, and dug shallow trenches around the barn. His hands shook, not from fear but from focus. Every sound, every movement felt sharper than ever. Lyra watched him, confused. Why do you risk so much for us? She asked. Ethan kept working. Because I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. I won't let that happen again. She tilted her head. You lost someone. Ethan froze for a second. My wife, a colony raid years ago. I couldn't save her. He looked at her. I won't fail this time. Lyra's eyes softened. You haven't failed. You gave us hope. As the sun climbed higher, a distant rumble rolled through the hills. The ground trembled. Nora ran outside, scanning the horizon with a small silver scope. Her face went pale. They're here, she whispered. 3 ships. No, 4. Ethan looked up and saw them, sleek black vessels gliding silently through the sky. Their shadows stretched across the land like blades. "Get inside," he ordered. "They'll hit us from above first." Moments later, the first blast struck. The ground exploded near the field, sending dirt and fire into the air. The farmhouse shook. Ethan pulled Lyra and Nora behind a wall as another beam hit the fence, melting it to slag. "They're trying to scare us," Ethan said. "That means they still want the old woman alive." Lyra's voice broke. "If they take her, they'll drain her core. She'll die." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Then they'll have to go through me first." The ships landed beyond the ridge. Dozens of armored hunters stepped out, weapons glowing red. They moved in perfect silence. Ethan triggered the first trap. A series of explosions erupted under the nearest group, throwing 2 hunters into the air. Smoke and fire filled the field. He fired his rifle, picking off the ones that stumbled. Inside, Nora worked desperately on the beacon again. "If I can send a pulse to the outer colonies," she shouted over the noise, "someone might come." Lyra stayed with her grandmother, tears streaming down her cheeks. The old woman's eyes were open now, glowing faintly. She looked at her granddaughters and then at Ethan. "The time has come," she whispered. "My light is not mine to keep." Lyra shook her head. "No, don't say that." The grandmother placed a trembling hand on her cheek. "I have lived many lives, but he—" Her eyes shifted toward Ethan. "He carries something new, something pure." Before anyone could respond, the roof shook violently. A beam of red energy tore through it, scattering debris. Ethan ducked as a hunter jumped inside, weapon raised. He fired his last bullet, hitting the creature's mask. Sparks flew and it fell back. He turned to the sisters. "We're out of time." The grandmother smiled gently. "Then let me give you more." A sudden warmth filled the barn. The air shimmered. The old woman's body began to glow brighter. First silver, then gold. Lyra screamed, trying to hold her, but Ethan pulled her back. "Don't," he said. She's doing something." The grandmother's voice echoed through the air. "Light to life. Life to light." A wave of energy burst from her body, sweeping through the walls, the fields, and the sky. The hunters outside froze, their armor shorting out. The ships above flickered, engines dying midair. The light expanded like a living sun, swallowing the valley. Ethan covered his eyes, feeling the heat and wind rush past him. Then just as quickly it was gone. Silence. The smoke cleared. The hunters were gone. The ships had crashed miles away, burning wrecks. Only the wind moved now. Ethan turned toward the grandmother. But she was gone too. Only a faint golden mist floated where she had lain. Lyra fell to her knees, sobbing. Nora held her tight, both crying silently. Ethan knelt beside them, unsure what to say. "She saved us," he whispered. Lyra nodded, tears glimmering. "She gave her light to protect us all." Outside, the sky began to clear. The dawn finally broke fully, bathing the valley in soft, peaceful light. Ethan looked up. The air felt different now, charged, alive. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a strange warmth, like a spark burning beneath his skin. He didn't know it yet, but the grandmother's light hadn't vanished. It had found a new home. The valley was silent after the battle. Smoke drifted slowly from the wrecked fields, and the rising sun glowed faintly through the haze. Ethan stood in the middle of the ruins, staring at the place where the old alien grandmother had vanished. The golden mist that once surrounded her was gone, but he could still feel something, warmth, soft and pulsing, somewhere inside him. Lyra and Nora sat near what was left of the barn, their faces pale and tear-streaked. The air around them shimmered faintly, like invisible energy moved through the space where the grandmother had released her final light. "She's gone," Lyra whispered. "Her life was the light. Without her, the heart of Lyra is lost." Ethan turned to her. "She didn't just vanish, Lyra. I think she left something behind." Lyra frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan opened his hand. A faint glow flickered beneath his skin, gold and soft, moving like a heartbeat. He didn't know how to explain it. He could feel power humming through his veins, as if something was alive inside him. Nora's eyes widened. "That's impossible," she whispered. "No human can hold the light. It should have burned you." Ethan looked at his hands, amazed and frightened at the same time. "Then why am I still here?" Lyra stood slowly, her voice trembling. "Because she chose you." They spent the day burying what was left of the dead hunters and salvaging supplies. The valley was full of broken armor and scattered metal. The air smelled of ozone and dust. Ethan barely noticed the cuts on his arms until Lyra gasped. The wounds that had been bleeding moments ago were gone, healed completely. His skin was smooth again. How? He began, but he didn't finish. Nora walked closer, studying him. Her light. It's inside you now. It's called the core gift. It connects to the world around you, machines, life, energy. You carry part of her spirit. Ethan felt dizzy. You're saying she made me part alien? Lyra shook her head. Not alien. Something new. He didn't know whether to be proud or terrified. That night, they lit a small fire outside the farmhouse. The stars above were clear and sharp now. No storm, no ships. For the first time in days, the sky looked calm. Lyra sat beside Ethan, watching the flames dance. When we were children, she said softly, our grandmother told us stories about the humans. She said they were dangerous, greedy, but brave. She said one day a human heart might save a dying world. Ethan gave a small, uneasy laugh. Sounds like a story meant for bedtime, not for war. Maybe, she said. But now I think she was right. He didn't answer. His eyes were on the horizon, where the wrecked ship still burned in the dark. If I really have her power, he said finally, then they'll come again. They'll want it back, Nora nodded grimly. Yes, the Black Command will not stop. They will come for you now. Ethan stared at his glowing hand. Then we need to send your signal fast, before they find us again. The sisters worked through the night repairing the beacon. They used alien tools, human wires, and scraps from the fallen ships. Ethan helped where he could, using his newfound energy to power circuits. Every time he touched the metal, it responded, lights flickering to life, engines humming softly. Lyra watched him in wonder. She really is inside you, she whispered. By dawn, the beacon was ready. It stood tall on the roof of the farmhouse, glowing faintly. Nora adjusted a few dials. It's time, she said. Ethan looked at her. Once you send it, what happens? If our people hear it, they will come to help us, Nora explained. But if the hunters intercept it first? She didn't finish. Ethan nodded. Then let's make sure we give them the right signal. He placed his hand on the beacon. The metal beneath his palm warmed instantly. A bright golden current spread through the machine, merging with its alien circuits. Lyra gasped. It's reacting to you! Ethan closed his eyes. He didn't know what he was doing, he just felt it. The light flowed from his chest into the beacon, filling it with power. For a moment he saw visions again, stars, planets, and countless ships drifting in the dark. Then a pulse of light shot into the sky, vanishing into space. The beacon went silent. Signal sent, Nora said, awe in her voice. Ethan exhaled and stepped back. His knees felt weak, his vision blurry. Did it work? Lyra looked up at the sky. If they are out there, they'll see us. Hours passed. The sun sank behind the hills and the air grew cold again. Lyra and Nora stayed close to the beacon, checking for any response. Ethan sat quietly, staring at the horizon. He didn't know what he had become, but he felt connected. To the land, to the stars, even to the broken machines scattered around him. Everything seemed to hum softly, like the planet itself was breathing. Then, just as the last light faded, the beacon blinked once, then again. A soft hum filled the air. They answered, Nora whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. Someone heard us. Lyra smiled, a mix of joy and fear. We're not alone anymore. Ethan stood beside them, his hand still faintly glowing. Let's hope it's your friends, not theirs. Far above, high in the darkness of space, something stirred. A fleet of ships changing direction, moving toward the small human world on the edge of nowhere. Lyra looked up at the stars and whispered, Grandmother, guide them home. Ethan watched the sky too. He could feel it, the light within him pulsing faster, responding to something far away. The message was sent. Help was coming. But so was war. Night came quietly, but no one slept. The beacon glowed faintly on the farmhouse roof, pulsing like a distant heartbeat. Every few seconds, its light flickered, answering a call that had traveled across the stars. Ethan stood in the doorway, staring at the dark sky. His hand still glowed faintly under the skin. The warmth inside him had grown stronger since he touched the beacon. Sometimes he could hear faint whispers in his mind, words he didn't understand, voices not his own. They're coming, Lyra said from behind him. She was watching the stars too. The signal reached the Empire. I can feel it. Your people? Ethan asked. She nodded slowly. Yes, the royal fleet. They will come for us, but... Her voice grew quiet. They might not come in peace. Ethan turned. Why? I thought they were your allies. They are, Nora said as she joined them. But they don't trust humans. To them, you're a primitive species, dangerous, unpredictable. Ethan gave a dry laugh. They wouldn't be wrong, Lyra frowned. It's worse than that. You carry the core now, the same power they fear. The Empire may see you as a thief. Or a weapon. Ethan looked back at the sky. Then we'll find out soon enough. By morning, the first ships appeared. They came through the clouds silently, sleek silver vessels shining in the sunlight. The largest one hovered above the valley like a floating mountain. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Home, she whispered. I never thought I'd see them again. The ground shook as a smaller ship descended near the farmhouse. Its engines roared, sending dust and hay flying. Ethan covered his face, squinting through the wind. When the door opened, several armored figures stepped out, their armor polished like mirrors. At the front was a tall alien in a deep blue uniform, his eyes glowing silver like Lyra's. Lyra bowed. Commander Varen, she said softly. You came. Varen's gaze moved to her, then to Ethan. We received your signal. The council mourns your grandmother's passing. His tone was calm but cold. And yet I sense her presence here. Lyra hesitated. She left her light with him. The commander's eyes narrowed. With a human? Ethan stepped forward, meeting his gaze. I didn't ask for it. She gave it to me to save you all. Varen studied him for a moment, silent. Then he turned to his soldiers. Bring him aboard. The council will decide what to do with this gift. Lyra's voice rose sharply. He saved our lives. You can't treat him like a prisoner. Varen's tone hardened. The core of Illyra belongs to our people, not to him. If he truly carries it, then he carries power that can destroy worlds. Ethan clenched his fists. I'm not your enemy. Perhaps not, Varen said coldly. But power always attracts war. Hours later, Ethan stood inside the alien flagship. Everything glowed softly. The walls, the floor, even the air seemed alive with light. Yet he felt trapped. The soldiers kept their distance, watching him carefully. Lyra and Nora were allowed to walk beside him, but even they seemed afraid to speak too loudly. As they entered a great hall, Ethan saw a tall crystal structure rising from the floor. At its base stood a circle of alien leaders, the High Council. Their robes shimmered like liquid light. One of them spoke, her voice echoing through the room. Human Ethan Walker, you carry within you the last light of our matriarch. This is forbidden. Explain yourself. Ethan took a deep breath. She was dying. She saved us. If she hadn't given me that power, we'd all be dead now. A murmur passed through the council. Another leader, older and darker-eyed, spoke. You speak of mercy, but what you hold could turn entire planets into ash. You are a danger, human. Ethan's patience thinned. Maybe, but I didn't use it for war. I used it to protect life. Isn't that what your matriarch wanted? The hall went silent. Even Varen hesitated to speak. Finally, the first counselor said, You will surrender the core now. Lyra stepped forward. No, you can't take it from him. It's bonded. Removing it could kill him. The old counselor's eyes flashed. Then perhaps that is the price. Ethan looked around at the alien faces, so wise yet so blind. He shook his head. Your people talk about light, about peace, but you sound just like the ones who came to kill you. Lyra's voice trembled. Stop, Ethan, please, but it was too late. Varen raised his hand. Take him, 2 guards stepped forward. The air shimmered as they approached, but before they could touch him, a surge of golden light exploded from Ethan's body. The guards were thrown backward, landing hard. The walls pulsed, reacting to his heartbeat. The council gasped. Varen shouted, Contain him! But the ship itself began to tremble. Lights flickered, machinery whirred. Ethan staggered, clutching his head. I'm not doing this, he cried. It's the core, it's reacting. Lyra ran to him. Breathe, Ethan. Control it, like she did. The light around him steadied, fading to a soft glow. The trembling stopped. Everyone stared at him in silence. Varen's voice was quiet now. You carry more than power, human. You carry will. Ethan straightened, breathing hard. Then let me use it to stop the hunters. They'll come again, stronger than before. You need me, the council whispered among themselves. Finally, the eldest one spoke. If you lie, the core will consume you. But if you speak truth, then perhaps the prophecy is real. Ethan frowned. Prophecy? Lyra's eyes softened. Our grandmother once said, The heart of two worlds will beat as one, and the darkness will fall. She meant you. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Varen gave a single nod. Very well. You will fight with us, human, but understand this. If you betray us, we will end you. Ethan met his eyes. Deal. Outside the ship, deep in the blackness of space, a storm of crimson light spread across the stars. Dozens of hunter fleets were on the move, drawn by the pulse of power that echoed from Ethan's body. War was coming. The Empire had returned, and the fate of two worlds now rested in the hands of one man. The stars trembled. From the command deck of the alien flagship, Ethan watched as red lights appeared across the void, hundreds of them. The Hunter Armada had arrived. Their ships moved like shadows, silent and endless, spreading through the blackness like a swarm. Commander Varen's voice was steady but grim. They followed the Corps' signal. They know it's here. Lyra stood beside Ethan, her face pale but determined. Then this is where it ends. Ethan stared out the window. His hand glowed faintly, pulsing with golden light, the last gift of the grandmother. No, he said quietly. This is where it begins. The alien fleet prepared for battle. Sleek silver warships floated in formation, their energy shields glowing. On the planet below, human colonies received faint distress signals. Some humans armed themselves, others hid underground, unsure what was happening above their skies. Ethan could feel the tension vibrating through the ship. The core inside him was restless, alive, whispering words he couldn't understand. Varen approached. Our energy cannons are ready, but their numbers are too great. We cannot win by force. Ethan turned to him. Then we'll win by will. Varen gave a faint smile. You sound like her. Ethan looked at Lyra. Your grandmother believed life could guide life. Maybe she was right. Lyra nodded, tears glimmering in her eyes. Then let her light guide you, Ethan Walker. Moments later, alarms blared. The first wave of hunter ships opened fire. Red beams tore through the stars, striking the Empire's shield line. Explosions flared, lighting the darkness. The flagship shook violently. Ethan grabbed a railing to steady himself. We have to stop them before they reach the planet. Varen shouted commands, his voice echoing through the bridge. Return fire. Protect the human colonies. Energy cannons roared. Blue beams clashed against red. The sky itself seemed to scream, but the hunters kept coming. Ethan closed his eyes. Inside his chest, the core burned brighter. He could feel the power of 1,000 suns waiting to be released. I can help, he said. Varen looked at him sharply. How? Link me to your systems. The core connects to energy. I can boost your shields, your weapons, maybe even stop them. The commander hesitated. It could kill you. Ethan gave a small grin. Then I'll make it worth it. They took him to the heart chamber, a room made of pure crystal at the center of the ship. Blue energy flowed through glowing veins in the walls. In the center stood a tall pillar humming softly. Touch the conduit, Varen said. Let the core speak to the ship. Lyra held Ethan's hand one last time. Don't let the light consume you. He squeezed her fingers gently. If it does, promise me you'll keep it burning. Then he stepped forward and placed his hands on the conduit. Instantly, the world exploded into light. His mind filled with voices, thousands of them. Machines, ships, stars. He could feel every energy pulse in the fleet, every heartbeat on the planet below. The core inside him merged with the ship's systems, golden threads weaving through the blue network. Varen watched in awe. He's merging. He's becoming part of it. Ethan's voice echoed through the ship, calm and deep. I can see them, the hunters. I know their weakness. Where? Varen demanded. Their main ship, Ethan said. It controls the others. If we destroy it, the fleet will fall. Varen turned to his crew. All ships target the central dreadnought. Outside, the Empire fleet changed formation, diving toward the massive hunter flagship. The battle became chaos, flashes of light, bursts of color, fire in the darkness. Inside the conduit chamber, Ethan's body shook. The golden light around him grew blinding. Lyra shouted, He can't hold it much longer. Ethan's voice came out strained. I have to finish this. The core pulsed faster and faster. His memories flickered, the farm, the storm, the sisters, the grandmother's smile. Her voice whispered in his mind, life to light. Light to life, he understood now. The core wasn't a weapon. It was a bridge. He opened his eyes. Lyra, Tell Varen to link the human colonies to the signal. What? She cried. Why? Because the core connects everything alive. It needs both worlds, human and alien, to unite. Lyra ran to the control panel. Commander, he's asking for a link. Varen hesitated, then nodded. Do it, the systems flared. Energy surged through every channel, spreading to the human outposts below. The machines on Earth-like soil responded, lights turning gold, engines humming, every power cell awakening. Humans looked up at the glowing sky, feeling warmth in their hearts without knowing why. The core had joined them all. Then Ethan raised his hands and the golden light exploded outward. It spread from the flagship to every ship in the Empire, then into the hunter fleet. The red lights began to flicker, their weapons dying one by one. The great dreadnought's engines sputtered and went dark. The swarm stopped moving. Varen whispered, "He's shutting them down, all of them." Ethan's body trembled. His voice came through the comms one last time. No more war. No more hate, just light. And then, with one final burst, the golden wave expanded across the sky, bright as dawn. When the light faded, silence returned. The hunter fleet was gone, drifting, powerless. The Empire's ships floated quietly in the calm. In the heart chamber, the conduit stopped glowing. Ethan lay on the floor, motionless, a faint smile on his face. The light beneath his skin had finally gone out. Lyra knelt beside him, tears falling onto his hand. "He did it," she whispered. "He saved us all." Varen bowed his head. The prophecy fulfilled.